As she said, I'm Jarrard Cole. I'm a senior, actually history major and creative writing minor from Athens, Georgia. When I was in your shoes about 4 years ago, I had no idea what was in store for me with the Morehead-Cain. So what I'm going to try to do in about 5 minutes, which is not nearly enough time, is give you a sense of what my 4 years were like, in the hopes that you'll start to imagine what might be possible for you with this scholarship. So I don't have much time, so I'm just going to jump right into it. The first summer that you have as a Morehead is the outdoor leadership summer. And so you choose a 30-day outdoor expedition to go on somewhere in the United States. And I'm not much of an outdoorsman, so for me it felt kind of like hazing. And I thought, if I can just get through that, it'll be smooth sailing from then on out. I'll be at UNC, it'll be great. On the fourth day of my expedition, I went sea kayaking in Alaska, and on the fourth day of my expedition, I was doing the dishes in the ocean with like rocks, and seriously with rocks, and I broke my spoon, and so went to the instructor and said, you know, I broke my plastic spoon. Can I get one of the extras? And he laughed at me. There were no extra spoons, so I said, all right, I can come up with a solution. So I went and picked up a piece of driftwood that I saw kind of like in an eddy over in some rocks, and I carved a little divot out of the end of the driftwood, and that's what I ate with for the next 26 days in Alaska. But it did get better. By the end of the trip, I came to appreciate that in a lot of ways, these expeditions with the National Outdoor Leadership School or with Outward Bound are the perfect way to start a college experience and your experience with the Morehead. I got to paddle alongside blue whales that were spouting, got to paddle alongside sea lions, which is actually a lot scarier than it sounds, but still very cool. And when I came back to UNC and was walking through the rain to the dining hall or was staying up late to finish a research paper, having the tangible achievement of going 230 miles around a Pacific island, it makes those college challenges just a little bit easier by comparison, and it's a great thing to start with. The next summer is the service summer, so you have the chance to find an existing service project or to create your own just about anywhere in the world. I went to Ollantaytambo, Peru, where I was teaching English and taking photographs for an organization there. And I arrived in Peru with no Spanish-speaking ability, which is not the smartest decision I've ever made, with a host family that spoke only Spanish. And by the end of the summer, I had gained not only an incredible appreciation for the challenges of service when it's not clearly and easily defined, but also the incredible enriching potential when you're embedded in a community like that and when you're getting to know people for longer than just a weekend. And at the end of my 8 weeks, I had the incredible honor of being invited by my host family to serve as the godfather to my 3-year-old host sister. And I was holding her as she was baptized. It was an experience that I will never forget and one I would have never put myself out there to try to have. The third summer, I used the incredible network of Morehead alumni connections that exist out there to find a position at the Wall Street Journal in New York City, where I was working on news video with them. And I arrived in the city and started on a Monday. And on Tuesday, my editor came up to me and he said, Jarrard, you know, I know you just are getting acclimated. I have an assignment, but you can say no to it if you want to sort of still keep figuring things out. And I said, okay, you know, what is it? And I'll decide. He said, all right, what we need you to do is to pair with one of our fashion reporters, and you're going to go to Fifth Avenue, and Paris Hilton's going to meet you. And you're going to walk down Fifth Avenue with Paris Hilton talking about her new perfume line. I said, okay, I'll weigh the pros and cons. Give me a second. Yeah, I think I can do that. I can do that. So the next thing I knew, I was wandering into Central Park, fending off paparazzi, and that was my third day that I had been there. On Friday of my first week, I got sort of handed a project at the last minute, and it was sort of in the afternoon, and like it has to be finished by Saturday. The piece in the paper is going to run, so we need the video. And on top of that, the guy you're going to work with, he's a little bit Well, they said he was a little bit of a jackass. I was like, okay, awesome. So he sends me this really long script for a very short video, and it was late Friday, and I didn't have time for this. I had to cut through it, so I cut it down. I took out whole paragraphs, just eviscerated this guy's script, sent it back to him. He was actually really great to work with, finished the video, stayed late on Friday afternoon, and most of the people had left the office at that point, finished the video, turned it in. And as I was walking out, I said, okay, there's no one around. I can look at the Pulitzer Prizes that are hanging on the wall and not look just like a newbie in the office. So I started reading the names of the Pulitzer Prizes, and I ran into the reporter whose work I had just eviscerated during the day and thought, that would have been good to know before I started this project. But when I came home that night, I was living in kind of like a closet that was sort of an apartment in New York, and I was stealing Wi-Fi from the neighbor, and I went on the website, and the video that I had just worked on with him was featured on the homepage of WSJ.com, and I thought, that's one of the goals I had for the whole summer. I've already accomplished it in the first week. What am I going to do from there? But my 12 weeks at the paper just continued in this kind of amazing trajectory during my time in the city. When I came back to Chapel Hill, though, I had made some incredible friends at the paper. The work was addictive. It was sort of this like fantasy where people get to come in, you can ask them annoying questions, and I wanted to continue it. So I used the Discovery Fund, which you'll learn more about, which basically allows you to fund experiences like the summer ones, but throughout the school year. And I went back to the Wall Street Journal for the midterm elections in 2010, and then for the State of the Union in 2011, and got to participate in their webcast coverage, their first ever extended live coverage for the paper. And so the Morehead allowed me to sort of continue this fantasy throughout the school year, my junior year. The last summer, just finished this past summer, was in many ways the perfect culmination for me for this experience. I went to New Delhi, India, and interned with the South Asia Bureau of the Wall Street Journal. And it was a very different experience than what I'd had in New York. There were fewer reporters, a lot more independence, no one looking over my shoulder to be sure I'm doing things right. And my editor early in the summer assigned me the small project of covering corruption in India, which, as you might know, is kind of a big thing. So about 2/3 of the way through my time there, I had figured out how I was going to structure this video, approached people, and I found myself in the living room of one of the President of India's cabinet ministers. And I was the only one there. There was no reporter to back me up. I was asking questions that I had devised for a project that I was leading. And it was only then that I really began to appreciate what kind of opportunities that had been available to me in my time as a scholar. And I still don't think I can fully appreciate it. So I'm running over on my time, but there's two things I want to leave you with. The first is one that I heard when I was at Maya's Finals Weekend. It was really important when I was making the decision. I thought about this a lot. And it was, when I started high school, I had several dream schools in mind, probably even before I started high school. They were in the Ivy League in California. There were places I wanted to go. And when the Morehead came along, I'm embarrassed to say it now, but it almost even felt like an interruption. Is this something I want to do? I hadn't imagined that this was going to be something I would consider. And one of the things that was said was that those other schools, those incredible places, they will be there in 4 years. You will continue to have the opportunity to go to those places. The Morehead won't be. There's no way you can recreate this in the next 4 years anywhere else. And the second thing, the thing that's most important, is that what I had been imagining was dream schools, the name, being able to say that I go there. What I had not been properly considering was what the dream experience might be. And I'm so fortunate to have had that. I got the dream experience. My experience is unique to me, but it's not unique to the foundation. You've got 240 people who are currently on campus with stories that are much more exciting than mine. Take this weekend, ask them about them, get as many details as you can, and start imagining what you might do with this scholarship. It's really impossible to appreciate. Thank you so much for listening. I'd like to turn it over to Megan, who's going to introduce the alumni panel. Thank you so much.